When I first talked about the four keys and I wrote the book, the entire purpose of it was to figure out what was true happiness. And what it really is distinguishing stimulation versus what I call spiritual gratitude, which is the four keys that actually give us true spiritual fulfillment, which is long-term happiness. But here's the question. We live in a world with so much technology. We live in a world that we are all connected. That wouldn't you think by now there would be a blueprint to happiness? There would be an exact step-by-step version that will allow everybody to feel fulfilled. But that's just not the case. There's so many people out there that are suffering, that are going through depression. But why? Let's look at the word happiness. I know it's kind of cliche. Look at the definition, right? But let's look at the definition of happiness. The definition is a state of joy, a state of well-being. But is that what we're truly looking for? A state? Something that just kind of comes and goes with the wind? No, of course not. Because if that were true, then I could just buy an ice cream cone, get a new car, and then I'll be happy, right? But that feeling fades away. We're not looking for something that just comes and goes. We're looking for something that's going to stick, a long-term happiness. And that is what the problem is. The word is wrong. So what is the right word? I spent years kind of trying to figure out what the right word was. And there's two trains of thought. One is that it is fulfillment. And I believe this is the right answer, except it doesn't really tell us much. Like, fulfill what? How do we feel fulfilled? What are we fulfilling? Right? And the other is contentment, to feel content. But I want you to be honest with yourself. Does that really feel like true long-term happiness? To me, being content means to accept the cards you're dealt. But that's not who we are as human beings. We strive for growth. We strive for improvement. So that's not the right word. But how can we figure out what the ingredients to being fulfilled really is? Well, it wasn't until I looked the opposite direction until I figured this out. Because there really isn't a word that expresses long-term happiness. But there is a word that means long-term sadness. And I'm sure all of you know what it is. Exactly. It's depression. So if we can actually look at the symptoms of depression, the main symptoms of depression, and we do the flip, we can actually figure out what long-term happiness looks like and the ingredients. So the main symptoms of depression are feelings of hopelessness, feelings of insecurity and stress, feelings of worthlessness, and feelings of disconnection, which means our spiritual fulfillment, what we crave to have long-term happiness, is hope, security, value, and connection.